Good day, I'm junior researcher Adam Southgate, and today's lecture will be covering the Abrahamic spheres Arglwydd. I'd appreciate that all hunters please subscribe as to not miss any future lectures, and also if you enjoy the lecture and find it informative, please like the video. I would also be very happy to hear your thoughts, views, and stories of your interactions with the monsters of the spheres in the comment area of this video. So, to begin, as always, we'll start with our general announcements. Firstly, I will be endeavouring in future to release these videos on Friday, as the druid in charge of my office has explained to me that this would be a more appropriate time to do so. Secondly, the team of 8 hunters and 2 gamekeepers led by Herobrine Harry 7698 have now left through the Perpetual Tear within Snowdonia National Park. Their initial findings show that the original research team were dragged from the experiment site. From Harry's last update, it seems that the research team, while captured and bound quickly, began to struggle against their bonds about a mile away from where they were first captured. Worryingly, human blood was found where the struggle seemed to take place, though the team surmises that the wound the struggling research team member received was only meant to incapacitate and not kill. The attack was most likely a blunt blow to the head to stop the individual from resisting due to the small amount of blood and the fact that the tracks indicate that the individual went limp after the assault. While we do not hold out much hope for the research team member who was struck, we are somewhat hopeful for the others, as they appear to have been taken relatively unharmed. I think it's fair to say we all wish Harry and the rest of the team good luck. Thirdly, a lesser eldritch entity, specifically the same type as discussed in our second training video, has been spotted wandering aimlessly around Llandigfydd Reservoir. While such a being would not typically be of any alarm, especially to a hunter with an MMB and knowledge of the mousetrap method, the issue is exacerbated by the fluids the creature is leaking into the water. The pipes the reservoir would usually feed have now been closed off, and thankfully only 2,356 people have reported sudden unexplained mental illnesses that they did not possess before. This is not the main concern, however, as due to the ever-changing nature of the thing, it is near impossible to predict what effect its ichor may have if allowed to reach a sufficient concentration. Similar incidents in the past have led to a wide variety of outcomes, such as the infected water spawning more of the creature, the water itself becoming a sentient entity, the miraculous creation of thousands of eyeless fish, and in the US, Florida. Now, obviously we cannot allow such an unpredictable outcome to transpire. As such, the High Druid has made this a specialty contract to be completed as soon as possible. To encourage hunters to take on this contract, MMBs will be provided at no cost to the hunter who takes on the job. Along with this, the contract will pay 3 times the standard rate for dealing with this kind of entity. We are specifically looking for masters to take on this bounty, however we will also accept journeymen if they can prove prior experience dealing with this type of entity. If you are interested, please contact your local order office immediately. The Arglwydd are, while on the low end of power amongst those of the Abrahamic sphere, still incredibly dangerous, destroying any unprotected person that enters its 27-meter radius. This should give you some indication of the raw strength that beings from this sphere possess. Even when compared to its opposite sphere, the Eldritch, the Abrahamic sphere is still devastating. While entities from both spheres consistently emit a passive yet extremely deleterious effect, though from different ends of the spectrum comparable to acids and alkalis, those of the Abrahamic sphere will also possess a secondary effect. The Principalities, while emitting a large field of mind-destroying bliss, also creates a burning aura that destroys any that gets too close while making them experience the pain as euphoria. A very large issue for us is that while the bliss can be negated by an MMB, the secondary effect cannot. This has been the cause of many hunters' careers coming to an abrupt end due to a momentary mistake. These secondary effects vary wildly from entity to entity, such as the aforementioned burning aura, bleeding eyes, vomiting molten gold, rapid rotting of living flesh, half-formed wings bursting from every available centimeter of skin, and dislocation between action and thought. Just as the bliss they inflict, these secondary effects also seem to be passive in nature, with the entity not making any conscious effort to create them, though, like in the case of the Arglwydd, some will exploit them. The Arglwydd is a being of pure light, not simply emitting a vast amount of light, but instead literally made of a blinding white light. Typically holding a roughly humanoid form, the Arglwydd stands at around 9 foot tall and about 2 meters broad. Their arms that reach the middle of their thighs increase in width from the shoulder to what would be their hands, ending in what appears as a blunt mass, though this may only be a trick of the light, hiding individual digits. Their legs are much the same, starting narrower at the waist and increasing in circumference as you move down the limb. The feet, like the hands, are large masses, though flattened at the bottoms. The Arglwydd seem to possess no neck. The head simply widens until making contact with the outer shoulders. In fact, without the limbs, the Arglwydd would be practically diamond-shaped, though with blunted ends. The entity appears from long-distance viewing to possess no facial features, simply being a figure made of light. However, those who have been attacked by an Arglwydd always describe a mouth and eyes. Interestingly, the victims of the entity always make the same claims, even without prior communication, that of 3 roughly torn black voids in place of eyes and a mouth. The eyes and mouth being black voids is very strange, making little sense, as I will discuss later, though some theories have been put forward. The most compelling of these theories is that the eyes and mouth are not as they appear, and instead are a reflection of how the victim appears to the entity. Their movement is also not as simple as most beings, as typically they will, when observed by someone they are not actively hunting, be standing perfectly and eerily still until a new target is located, when they will disappear from where they were and reappear somewhere within half a mile of their victim. This teleportation does not seem to be limited by distance, at least on a planetary scale. Things change when they are approaching a victim. The Arglwydd will, once appeared within range, begin a slow, methodical walk towards their intended target. Able to phase through solid matter at will, there really isn't much that can be done to stop an Arglwydd at this point. Each step makes a sound very similar to a thud, followed by something like small chips of glass hitting a stone floor. The light they are seemingly made from also has interesting properties, as it does not behave as light within our universe should. Instead of illuminating all around the entity, the light remains within the form of the being. This opens some very puzzling questions, as our eyes work by beams of light entering our pupils and our brains interpreting the information. With the Arglwydd, the light does not leave its form, and yet it can be seen even within pitch darkness. Victims have even described the entity as being visible through closed eyelids. This phenomena is most likely tied to the different laws of the Arglwydd's home sphere, as certain entities, as we've discussed previously, seem to operate with their own universe's laws, even when within ours. When it comes to thought and intention, it is very difficult to say whether or not the Arglwydd possesses any. The Abrahamic sphere appears to be broken into 2 distinct zones, that of the divine and damned. Those of the damned appear to possess both intellect and intention, while those of the divine seem closer to a force or unbreakable law. What the Arglwydd does to its chosen victim is both fascinating and horrifying in equal measure. I'm going to read to you an old transcript of one such victim that was made before his inevitable decline. I was dreaming, some nightmare. I don't remember exactly what was happening, just normal bad dream stuff. But it changed. The people in my dreams started talking about the light man and how we had to hide. They were all really scared, shaking, crying, and sorry, it's difficult. The interviewer responds with, "It's okay, please continue." That's when the sound started, like ice falling from a roof and sacks hitting a floor. It started really quiet, but got louder and louder. Everyone screamed then, and I woke up. I wanted to go to my parents' room to tell them I was scared. I got out of bed and went to walk, but couldn't. I just stood there, my legs wouldn't move. Then that's when I heard it, like ice falling from the roof and sacks hitting the floor. It started quiet but got louder. I tried to call to my mum and dad, but it sounded like a whisper. I tried to scream, but all that came out was a wheeze. The sound was so loud it hurt, and then suddenly it stopped, and I knew it was right outside my door. The door handle slowly moved down, and the door started to open. My heart hurt, it was going so fast, and then the light man walked into my room. I kept trying to scream, I kept trying to run, but nothing worked. It leaned its head towards me, and slowly the holes opened, and I woke up again. While at first glance this may seem more an inconvenience at worst, a very bad dream, but no true threat, it's what follows that's truly insidious. You see, those that enter the Arglwydd's 27-meter radius without protection or are targeted by them suffer a slow and grinding decline. Specifically, it begins with a mild inferiority complex in the victim, feeling that what they do isn't good enough. This grows over time, with the victim rejecting praise and positive attention. The victim will feel that those around them are simply being kind out of charity and not genuine affection. This only worsens as guilt begins to grow in the individual as they believe that every kindness is wasted upon them. Eventually, this will lead to the victim isolating themselves from others, typically running away. Their condition continues to worsen as they reject shelter, clothing, food, and even water, feeling that they are undeserving of all. This inevitably leads to their demise. While there is little that can be done for the victims, an Arglwydd can be destroyed. As stated before, the eyes and mouth of the entity being black voids is rather strange, as the only way to kill an Arglwydd is to penetrate its light form with the colour black. Specifically, it must be as close to true black as can be achieved. The aim is to introduce into the entity something that light cannot reflect from. There are a few ways to do this, though the most effective way is to use a ranged weapon such as a rifle to fire a round painted with a pigment such as Vanta Black. Though most of the colouring will be tarnished by the process of firing the round, enough will remain to produce the desired effect. The danger comes in missing the shot. The Arglwydd will not react to someone that is not its intended target, ignoring them completely unless someone enters its sphere of influence or, as stated, attempts an attack. While with an MMB you will be immune to the self-deprecation effect, you will not be immune to the paralytic aura. The Arglwydd will dislocate to your position, freezing you in place until a new victim is chosen. While this is merely an inconvenience if the shot landed, with the Arglwydd seeming to collapse into the round, if it is undamaged, it can freeze you in place for months, meaning you will die of thirst. Before taking on an Arglwydd contract, the Order highly recommends marksmanship training, along with also eating a large meal before you hunt, as depending on where the shot lands, it can take minutes to hours for the Arglwydd to fully collapse into the black pigment. Beings like the Arglwydd are always disturbing to me, as they act more as a force of nature than a living being. They seem to be something that just happens to people instead of something that most can actively fight against or avoid. While they can be killed, if you are the target, there truly is no saving you, as even in the incredibly rare case when a hunter is in the right place at the right time and manages to stop one entering a house, a new one appears in its place to finish what was intended. Sometimes the fact is that we can't save someone, but we can get a modicum of revenge. With Arthur's might and Merlin's wisdom, thank you.